In this video, we're going to be talking about the top decks in the game right now, February 14th/50. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Kisses, hugs, all those sort of things. We're going to be going through this. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on them. And as somebody who's learning the game a little bit and seeing these decks, it's something for me to look forward to. Anything you've got as far as how you play these decks or see that maybe I missed, let me know in the comments below. All right, let's jump in. The Marvel Snap Zone, they have a tier list out here. Now, I know some people say this might not be as accurate or whatever, but I still think it's fun to look at these regardless of the accuracy. I think generally looking at these and just chatting about them, they're still pretty accurate as far as the decks. You can see, I mean, spoiler for what the decks are. You can see them right there on the screen. But I'm going to go through them. The first one we've got here is the Shuri Zero. Now, obviously, Shuri, I've mentioned this in multiple videos lately. Shuri with her just domination right now is insanely impressive. You've got Zero and Sauron to help those ongoing effects sort of go away. Mainly for the ones like Maw. We've got Lizard and we've also, I mean, even Taskmaster, Typhoid Mary, that sort of thing. So those two cards can help keep those things off the board if you want. Now, the one thing that I do see when I see this is this deck for me is more for people who might have been playing for a while. There's a pool 4, there's a pool 5 in Sauron. I'm assuming he might have been a season pass at some point. This was before my time of playing, but a lot of pool 3 cards too. I can tell you that just looking at this, I've only got 2 cards from this entire deck. So this to me is an early pool 3 player who recently started about a month ago. This is a little bit further along. The next one they had on here is Zabu Control. Now, this one, obviously you've got Zabu to help get a couple. There's 4 energy cost cards. So he's there to help with those a little bit. It's easier to play off the rescue in this one because you've got a lot of low cost cards in here. And then you've got Sarah to drop sort of the final turn to make things a little bit cheaper for any other card. And it's all sort of feeding Bishop. So you've got your Bishop potentially here just sitting here feeding off all these cards. You've got a Nova sitting there that eventually can feed some more points to your cards. I used to like Nova a little bit more than I do now, but I still think it's solid. So this one is a little bit more like up my alley a little bit. The only ones I'm really missing from here are the Hood and Sarah. But again, I bought Zabu as a pass. So let me know what your thoughts are on this one. I'm curious to see how people enjoy playing this one. Next up is the Zabu Devil Darkhawk. Now, this one we were actually talking a little bit about, or at least Darkhawk primarily, on the discard and debating whether he's somebody you want to buy from the token shop. I think in general, he's a pretty good card. Again, you've got Zabu here to reduce the 4 cost cards. There's several more 4 cost cards in this deck. Also, you've got Agent Coulson to help pull additional one in there. And you've got Quinjet to help reduce the cost of those cards. All of this sort of with your staple Devil Dinosaur to help build up your hand so that Devil Dinosaur gets even more points. Now, the rocks, obviously, your Korg and your Rock Slide, that build into your Darkhawk to help sort of keep putting cards in your opponent's deck. One card I thought about in this that might be helpful to that too is Black Widow. So that keeps one more card in their deck. Something to think about, you know, when I looked at this, Arrow to me is like a top 3 card in the game. So I think she's always usable. But when I was leaning into this a little bit, I thought about that. Maybe that might be a little better than Arrow and it's cheaper, but I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that one specifically. Obviously, Sentinel feeding back for the Devil Dinosaur, Moon Girl, White Queen / Emma Frost. Mystique can copy Devil Dinosaur, Darkhawk, or Zabu to make those 4s even cheaper. I really personally like this deck a lot. I can see this fit in my play style. Just there's a little bit of manipulation. There's a little bit of build up. If you keep Arrow in here, there's also some ability to like move things around and control. So this is probably one of my favorite ones that they've got in this entire thing. I really did like this one a lot. Let me know what your thoughts are on this one. For me, Darkhawk's the hardest thing to get in here. I don't have Rock Slide or Quinjet or Agent Coulson, but unless I could get Darkhawk, this is sort of a pipe dream for me. There's 2 Series 5 cards in this, so that does make it a little bit harder to get. Next up is Lockjaw on Reveal. I used to struggle with Lockjaw a little bit, thinking, what's the point, but I really sort of fallen in for the guy. He's a cute little puppy. You got your cheap cost cards to sort of bring in there and hopefully bring in later more expensive cards. I think that's sort of a staple around anything that is Lockjaw. And if you're not getting any of those more expensive cards, then they're likely going to be in your hand so that Dracula can discard them. So you've got a little bit of ebb and flow there. Jubilee to help draw something out. Obviously Jane and Thor to play around so you can get Mjolnir out there. I like this deck a bit. AC to sit at the end so that in theory you're always guaranteed at least to have a 9 in your hand for Dracula at the end. You know, you just got to make sure that you get rid of those ones before that so that, you know, the Dracula is guaranteed to at least cut that. You don't want to leave a Wasp or a Sunspot or a Nightcrawler or anything like that or a Jubilee in your hand for that last turn. Next, we've got the Galactus deck. This one, I'm curious to see all you Galactus players out there. Is this your staple deck that you use for him? I get this one. I like it a lot. You've got Electro and Wave to help the energy generation / reduction of cost of your cards. So when you've got so many, I mean, really Null and Galactus out there to be able to play those cards late in the game, and hopefully, you know, you're destroying so much with Galactus that you're able to play Death on that last turn. Wave is critical to get out there so that you can get that Galactus played and then have Death for your final turn. Because if you don't, or if you are unable to pull that off, this is silly. I mean, you don't want to draw Galactus turn 6 with nothing else there, which doesn't make any sense. So I like the Electro, the Wave, Nightcrawler, and Cloak in case I guess you need to move something around. Maybe you're, that's, you know what I like about that is that could be a deception with this, is that if you have, you fill up the board a little bit so it doesn't look like a Galactus deck, and then maybe use Cloak on turn 3 or 4, and then you move your stuff over there, you clear out that lane, and then you slam Galactus down there after a wave or something like that. I think that's it's a great surprise mechanic for this and a great way to get at least 2 cubes. That's absolutely the way I would play this without ever playing this. And then obviously Null gives you a bunch of additional points for all the cards you destroyed. All right, Negative Surfer. So this is the Zabu Negative Surfer. They call it 2 different things on the site here. For this one in particular, even with the nerfs to Zabu and Silver Surfer, it's still appears to be a solid deck. Though I do question a little bit if something could be a little bit better than Zabu in this. There are only 2 4s in this, but the main reason is you have them there to help get out Mr. Negative. So if you've got Mr. Negative in your hand, you've got Zabu, then you can bring Mr. Negative a little bit earlier. So you get more of these cards into your hand for the flip. Now, if you look at all the cards, they're all in a situation where if you get them after using Mr. Negative, it benefits you. So I like that. Then you've got Bast in your hand so that if you've got any of these cards in your hand which have pretty low power, Bast guarantees they at least have 3. That I did like that ad with Bast there. I think that is kind of fun and could really make this deck a lot better. I do enjoy that. One thing, and I'll then do a video on this in the future, but I want to hear from you guys on any like sort of catch-up mechanics. When I look at these sort of things, I crave to be able to play all of these type of different decks, but because I have only been playing for a month, you know, I'm hopeful that at the end of 2 months that I'm basically caught up, but I know I've already started doing some of the math and seeing some out there. I know I won't be. So I think tell me how long you think it should be for somebody to play the game and be sort of caught up. So that way you've got most cards in game outside, or at least pool 3. So that way you can be playing with what you need to. And then if you've got to buy the pool 4 and pool 5s, anyway, I'm digressing here, but let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. I do like, again, Wong is a really strong card. You got for the 2-time reveal from Psylocke, Ironheart, Wolfsbane, Rogue even. Now, I am a little curious about Rogue. Does she steal 2 ongoing effects if you double her up with Wong or drop her right after Wong? And does she remove both of them? Does she keep both of them? I'm curious. Another thing I'd like to know, so if you're aware, please drop that in the comments below. All right, Death Wave. You see a lot of this. This seems to be sort of a staple out there. A lot of things I'm running into. You've got some destroy cards to help bring the death cost down. I think that's pretty critical. You've got Wave to help get that 4 cost at some point, whether it's turn 5, turn 6, and it makes everything a little bit cheaper. Ideally, then you see a lot of the drops for She-Hulk and Death on that last turn. That's always really nice, where you can get, you know, I mean, Wave brings everything down to 4, She-Hulk, if you use less energy on turn 5 and you've destroyed all those cards, that's always a nice combo that you can drop out there. Again, with all these destroy cards, this is another one that's relatively reasonable to get. While I'm missing a number of these cards, they're basically all pool 3 or lower, which, I mean, that's pretty good. All right, then we've got the Patriot deck. This was hot a couple days ago again when we had the Washington, D.C. location. This is your staple Patriot deck, obviously, where it gives a lot of points to anything without power. Your Magic to extend, Onslaught to make double the ongoing, Mystique to double up Patriot. You've got, Ultron. I mean, if you're worried about an Enchantress, or not worried about an Enchantress, you could always drop all those in the same spot, but that's super risky. Ultron can fill in all the empty spots, debris to put more spots out there to get extra points as well, and clog up your opponent. I really like debris in this deck a lot. It's a pretty solid deck. I haven't been building towards this at all because there's too many cards that I need to get. But last but not least, here they call this Discard Dracula. Above, they call it Discard Lockjaw. And I wanted to end with this one because I'm seeing a ton of this right now. Mainly, I think, because MODOK this season, everyone wants to play MODOK in sort of that discard archetype. This is sort of, I don't want to call my dream deck, but I really enjoy playing the discard archetype. I think a lot of times you're seeing Morbius out there all over the place. People will run sometimes or escape as soon as the Morbius drops. I just frankly love this. I've been playing mine with a Ghost Rider as well. I like maybe, discarding the Infinite so that I can potentially bring him in. But, with a Dracula out there, it's a little bit nicer and guaranteed. Whereas Ghost Rider, he can be a little bit random on who he brings in. You might get a Swarm, which is just like, okay, cool. So I wanted to end with this. I like this one. It is, I will say, it seems a little bit feast or famine, but I do enjoy playing this. Let me know what your thoughts are. Again, MarvelSnapZone.com. I want to give a shout out to this site. I'm sure many of you have seen it. I wanted to go over these particular decks. They all seem pretty solid. I dream of the day that I can actually play these more than what I've got, and I'm just sort of like piecing together these weird decks. I want to build up. I want to get that stuff going and have a lot more fun. So let me know what your thoughts are. If this has been helpful, please consider hammering down the like button. Appreciate it. And until next time, hope you have a wonderful day.